You can take a few pictures when this guy shows up. Good evening. Welcome to another edition of Latinos Unidos. My name is Geraldo Reyes. I am tonight's host. We have a situation, of course. What happened is our two hosts, Mr. Felix Rodriguez is celebrating his wife's birthday. I want to send a shout out to Jennifer. Jennifer's birthday today. We want to send a shout out to her. And Michelle Castillo, unfortunately, was planning to be here, but she's ill. And tonight's topic is going to be discussions about the South End Neighborhood Association, the South End in general, and the 75th District, which I've become familiar with, and a face of the 75th. And my guest will be joining here in a few minutes. His name is Alberto Rojas. And what we're doing is, right now, we just finished a primary where we just won 18 seats on the Democratic Town Committee. And what we've done is something a little bit of, if you will, a little historic in that we took all 18 seats and led by our leader, Victor Cuevas, who's had the most votes in the process. And what we're doing right now is we're working in the town committee with the other four sections, 71, 72, 73, and 74. We happen to have 18 associates, 2 that have any experience whatsoever with town committees, and the other 16 had no experience prior to. And without further ado, I want to introduce my guest tonight, Alberto Rojas from the 75th. And Alberto, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. And
Alberto is Vice President of the South End Neighborhood Association. He's a member of the 75th Town Committee, and he's been a member, one of the founding members of Latinos Unidos. And I want to welcome you to the show, and tell us how you got involved with the South End Neighborhood Association.
Well, first off, thank you for having me on the show. It was a pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
I got involved with the South End Association by being down at the rec center. And of course, I met Ms. Vicky, which is the president of the South End Association. And she was explaining to me a little bit about what they do and how they're trying to generate membership. So I showed a lot of interest, and I started participating in the meetings. And we just had a cleanup on the 14th, which is this past Saturday. I myself and a couple of individuals were behind the rec center, cleaning up, raking up the old basketball courts. For those who are familiar with the area, you know that it's been kind of abandoned, so we try to rake up and make it look a little better. But that's just how I got involved. Vicky presented me with the opportunity, said the slot was open, so I took upon it to do it, and it's been a great experience so far.
What are some of the projects that are going on in the South End right now? I know there was a fire on Mill Street right next to their greenhouse. Right. Can you tell the audience a little bit about the greenhouse and the condition after the fire?
Well, the greenhouse, we're happy that nothing really happened to it. Now that greenhouse is positioned right there on Mill Street, and people could come down, and we have meetings there, and they can plant certain seeds, and the plants will grow to a certain extent, and then you get a phone call from one of the people who work at the greenhouse, and they'll let you know that the plant is maturing, and if you want to come pick it up, you can plant it in your own backyard and stuff like that. It's a good experience for the kids also. We're planning for future events to have like a barbecue at the greenhouse and have like an introduction into the neighborhood, because a lot of people don't know that the greenhouse is actually there, which is real positive, because a lot of people love to do gardening and stuff like that, and their backyards are really not that great, or they don't have enough space for it. And it gets the community involved, and that's what we're trying to do. South End Association is trying to gain as much membership as possible to let people know that we're definitely trying to make a change, but not only one person can make a change. It takes a whole community of people to step up to the plate and definitely take up on the task.
That's very true. We want to give a shout out to Vicky Encarnacion, who is the president of the South End Neighborhood Association, and unfortunately she's also sick, and she won't be able to make this show tonight, but we are going to reschedule and have her come in. For those of you that are watching the show live, please call in 203-753-7593. Any questions you have for Alberto or myself regarding the 75th District of Waterbury, the South End Neighborhood Association, Latinos Unidos, or anything else that's on your mind that you'd like to discuss. Alberto, I know that you were one of the founders with Latinos Unidos. Can you walk us through your experience all the way back from when you got involved to where you are today?
Well, it was quite an experience, you know. I was down at the rec center a lot, participating, mentoring, working with the kids and Mr. Cuevas, of course. And it just started off by being interested in certain gatherings that we're having in the back, meetings. And, you know, it was presented to me that they're formulating a group to try to improve for the community. And, you know, I grew up around the area. So, of course, I had a lot of interest in doing so, and I just want to see the area get cleaned up. I want to see it go back to how it was back in the early 90s when people used to go to the parks and have a good time, barbecue. Kids could go outside without having to worry about stepping on glass or getting hurt, and where people were proud of the neighborhoods. You know, and it's not only about the Spanish people, also, Jerry. It's about the whole 75th and every individual who lives in that 75th. It's about Waterburyans, and we're definitely trying to bring the community back. And that pride that was once there. Not that it's faded, but we need to make it stronger than what it is.
I think, Alberto, you make an excellent point. And I think to that point, I think we've seen a lot of those positive points and a lot of the enthusiasm under the new leadership of Mayor Neil O'Leary. Right. What are your thoughts since you've been involved with Latinos Unidos and you are now an active member of the 75th? What are your thoughts now that you've been working with Mayor O'Leary and the process? What do you think of the process?
I think the process is great. I think Mr. O'Leary is a very positive individual from my experiences and conversations I've had with him. I strongly believe that he's definitely trying to bring a positive change to Waterbury overall, and that that's the type of energy we need in that type of position. You know, energy that Mr. O'Leary displays himself.
When the fire ripped through the old textile plant down on Mill Street, we saw Waterbury's bravest and Waterbury's finest come together, and in my estimation, in my opinion, they did a tremendous job. And I do want to give a shout out to Chief Dave Martin for a tremendous job that the Waterbury Fire Department did, especially when the winds shifted from the north to the south. The neighborhood expands more so with, if you will, more people live towards the south, which the direction in which the wind was blowing. So they were able to save those neighborhoods and those homes from not burning down. And worst of all, what they did was immediately evacuated them for safety. But my question to you then is, we all live in the 75th. We live now. All of us live within a few blocks to a few miles of the fire. And the fire smoldered for 6 days. How do you think the fire affected the quality of life in the South End?
Well, along with the smoke and all that, it was emotional also, because that's a piece of history actually that was going up in flames, and it definitely affected the lives because there was a lot of streets that were blocked off. It caused a lot of inconvenience for those who had to get home and stuff like that from work. But overall, it was just a crazy experience to see that a fire burn to that type of degree.
You know, it's funny. Over on the other side of the tracks and on the other side of the river is the River Bowen Recreation Center, and there was an array of people standing out there watching. And it was reported by many of the people that were there that small chunks of ashes or small chunks of pieces were flying over and falling all the way up on top of the grass, right. Which is probably a good 100 yards from where that fire originated. But it definitely was a disaster averted in the fact that the firemen and the city of Waterbury did such a good job and so quickly to bring that under control. And from my understanding, it was still smoldering 6 days later. I had an opportunity to be there when Senator Richard Blumenthal and Commissioner Daniel Esty came there with Mayor O'Leary to assess the damage, to take a look at what they would do, how would they address this cleanup. And the state looks like it's going to come forward with $2 million to help in the cleanup. But the real crime, as I see it, is how the owner of this factory that owes the city of Waterbury almost $2 million in back taxes is going to walk away from this scot-free. And I think that process needs to be revisited so that this doesn't reoccur ever again. But I want to move a little bit more. I want to talk a little bit about the 75th. I understand you're working with the campaign at 106 Grand Street. Can you tell the folks a little bit about that process? And if anybody has any questions for Alberto or myself, please call in.
Well, the experience with the process, I mean, you guys can come down at any given moment. We're open all the time. If you're not a registered voter, we could take care of that for you. If you want more information on what it is that we're trying to do, we could definitely share that with you. Like I said, we're down there a lot, and we're just canvassing, campaigning, and just trying to, we won all 18 seats like you addressed earlier, but that's just the beginning of the battle. We're in this for the long run. We still have the elections coming up in November and August, and we're just definitely just trying to keep going forward, 100% full steam ahead, and not lose any kind of steam. We're trying to get as much people involved as possible, because we have a lot of voters in the 75th, and the turnout was only about like 600 and something overall between both teams.
Just under 700.
Just under 700, and there's about what, like 6,000 voters?
11,000.
11,000. Oh, I was off by 5. I'm apologizing.
11,000.
11,000. So right there, that displays a whole lot. Like, we need to get out there and definitely vote, because at the end of the day, voting is very important, because we all have a part to play, and we all have a voice, and who gets elected and what our surroundings are going to be like by those individuals who get elected into office.
What traditionally happens in a primary, especially a slate, when you're running a slate against the incumbent, what happens is you have a pre-primary, which is what our slate A won over slate B, and what that gives us is the 18 seats on the town committee, and at the convention in May, the 75th district will nominate its Democratic candidate for the 75th district, and at that time the party will endorse Victor Cuevas as the Democratic candidate for 75th district representative, and he'll be row A in the election on August 14th, if there's a primary, and if not, it'll be in November. If there is or there isn't a primary, he'll be running against whoever's left in November. And as Alberto already referred to, we're in this for the long haul. Our headquarters are open at 106 Grand Street, and you can stop in and ask questions. Inquire about the candidate. If you're not registered, we'll register you. And there's a lot going on in the 75th. I find it, especially today, working down in City Hall, that there's a new attitude about the city. It's enthusiastic. It's vibrant. There's constant visitors in and out of that mayor's office, and I think that's all due to the excitement of change, and the fact that Mayor O'Leary has brought a positive change, and things are moving quickly. Working very hard with economic development. Ron Pugliese, director. Ron Pugliese has done a great job for the city of Waterbury. The mayor's moving fast. The operations, the day-to-day operations are run by Joe Gary. So you have a mixture of old and new, but at the end of the day, what you have is enthusiasm for the city. You see some vibrant comeback from the city, and there's a lot of people. Again, as I said, working down in City Hall, you get to meet a lot of people, and I see there's a lot of positive people in the city of Waterbury. As Alberto was referring to earlier, that's what we're trying to rejuvenate back into the South End. One of the mayor's platforms when he ran was that the North and the South End were heavily neglected, and Alberto, myself, Victor Cuevas, many others all got involved and formed Latinos Unidos. And what we did was pretty much tell everybody, hey, we're here, we want to be heard, we want to be part of the process, we want to be part of the change, and we don't like what we're seeing, so we want to make it better. It's just that simple. And to that effect, that's how Latinos Unidos got involved and rolled out the program of Latinos Unidos, and then that evolved into the 75th. Tell me, Alberto, if you will, because we have a mixture of elder statesmen like myself, and we have a lot of young guys. Please tell me how your role. You're right in the middle. So what do you think? How do you think the young guys have evolved, and what do you think of the team that we have in place right now?
I think the team we have in place right now shows a lot of versatility, and I believe that a lot of young kids should get involved now, because this is definitely like a part of history, and it's definitely an education for them also. You know, a lot of people sit there and they get mad about, oh, this is going on, the taxes are going up, why is this not getting cleaned up, why is this park being neglected, and but they're sitting back and not doing nothing about it. So by actually getting involved, you're going to get education, like I just said, and you're definitely going to be able to have your part in making the change. And in the long run, when you become older, you know, for the young cats, when they get older, they can sit there and tell like their grandchildren that they had a part, that they lived during that time where the 75th got tired of being dire and neglected, and stood up and told the city that we're definitely here, not only the city but the state, that we're definitely trying to make a change, and that we're all in this together, and basically that's it. That we're going all the way to the end, till the wheels fall off.
It's a very good thought process, and at the same time, one of our biggest supporters, if you will, has been Mayor O'Leary. He's been very positive for the Hispanic community, the African American community. He's already been to River Baldwin Recreation Center within about 3 to 4 weeks after he won into the office. He already had a sit-down meet and greet with the Hispanic community in the South End. We had about over 150 people in the gymnasium that night. Very shortly, there's going to be an informative, if you will, an informative update on the fire. We will be coming back down to the South End, hopefully in the next 3 to 4 weeks, and there's going to be an informative update for the South End community associates and the people, the families that live there, that we talked about, as I asked you earlier, about the quality of life. Well, there's going to be an update, an actual update by the mayor of the city, and folks that are involved with the DEP from Hartford. They're going to come into Waterbury and give us an update on where that situation is. And to me, I see that as important information that we probably didn't get in the past. Sometimes you have to demand to be heard, and I think what I like about Mayor O'Leary is he gives you the time to say, to hear you out and to say your piece, and then he lets you be part of the solution, and that's the best thing that I like about the guy, and he's been doing a great job. Alberto, if you could, can you give us a little example of your interaction? Like, I know you and BJ and Eddie Santiago, when you go out and canvas, can you give folks, you mentioned the word canvassing. It comes in 3 or 4 different ways. Can you explain the different ways for our audience?
Well, canvassing consists of a lot of different things, like door knocking, putting flyers at people's mailboxes. Well, not in the mailboxes, in between the doors, yeah, because that's illegal. But it consists of going and talking to different people. And it's actually a pretty good experience for me so far, because I've had the opportunity to meet so many different people. And it's actually great to sit there and interact with them face to face and talk to them and educate them a little bit about it, and spend a little bit of time and get to know actually the actual people who do live in that district. And we actually have had fundraisers also, where people have come down and had dinner with us, and we sat there and spoken to them and heard ideas, heard like different things that people are unhappy with in their district, and certain changes that they would like to see. It's definitely, like I said, been a great, phenomenal experience. I've met so many different people on so many different ethnicities and cultural levels and stuff like that, and different beliefs. It's definitely great. That's all I can say. I boiled it down to that.
We in the 75th have the luxury and the beauty of having so many NRC organizations: Hopeville, Brooklyn, Washington, Mohawk, Willow Plaza. They're all in the 75th. And what our team has done is that we've actually joined most of these organizations, and in some cases we've actually been able to put some of our 75th district associates on their executive board to be able to meet with the NRC. So what we've done is in essence is branch and extend ourselves out to everybody in the community. I'm gonna, excuse me a second, I'll take this call. Go ahead, caller, you're on.
Yes, good evening. How are you?
Good evening, sir. How you doing?
Well, I listened to both of you. I listened to you speak. My question is, when are black and Latinos going to pull out the white-controlled Democratic and Republican parties and form their own parties? Neither party has done anything for both minorities.
Neither party, sir, when you say the Democrat and the Republican?
Yes, both are the same. The Republicans do the bank job, the Democrats drive the getaway car. None of them have taken care of our people. Why is it that we don't form our own parties?
Well, it's an excellent question that you're asking, and basically what you're asking for is unification of the minorities against the majority, basically what you're saying.
Right, but if you set a system of what they call proportional representation, which they do in other countries, everybody will be at the table. Right now, take a look at Hartford. There's white Irish control. Latinos and blacks have no power there.
Right, okay. That's why we definitely gotta form together and unite. You know, rather than this is a certain thing I've seen myself from several occasions that I've gone to, sir. And instead of us fighting amongst each other, we need to just form and step as a weapon, as one.
Right, but we're talking about pulling out of the Democratic Party, a Republican Party. Look at Dan Malloy. Dan Malloy is attacking teachers now. A lot of those on his bill are teachers of color, Latinos, black. And I'll close and say this. Bring in the spirit of Albisos Campos and Malcolm X. Have a good night.
Good night, sir.
Good night,
good night. Thank you very much for the call. The caller brings up a very good point, and we've had this discussion before. And again, I can only defend the position that the current mayor has taken, where he has put Latinos and African Americans on his staff, just the way he said he would on his campaign. But the caller's question really comes back to is a united front. A united front. I'm going to take this call. Good evening, caller. You're on.
How you doing, Jerry?
Hey, good evening. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Who is this, right?
No, I don't know who it is.
Can't know my voice.
No, you have to identify yourself, caller.
Gordo Tony.
Oh, Tony Corbo.
Oh, how are you, my friend? How you doing? Good. How are you? Everything good?
Not bad, you?
Good. Thank you for the call.
I figured I'd just say hello. How are you? That's all.
Oh, we're doing good. Thank you very much for the call.
There you go. Keep smiling, okay?
All right.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a good night.
It's very interesting. It's very interesting that, from my perspective, that pretty much almost all the campaign promises that Mayor O'Leary ran on, little by little, they're coming to fruition, and that's very important. He has talked about parks. He has talked about education. He has talked about blight, and he has made blight a huge issue in the city of Waterbury. If you walk anywhere around the WOW organization up on Walnut Street, they focused on that, and they made a tremendous inroads in cleaning up that area in 6 weeks. But I don't want to take on the rest of the show on blight. But I think the caller's main interest there was pretty much uniting minorities, and the first step is, and I'll say for the caller, the first step is to, as a leader, call the meetings and see the people come out. You can only bring the people to the table that want to come to the meeting, and we do this over and over again. You know yourself, Albert, how hard it is. We call meetings, and we got 25 people sign up on a paper, and you only get 5 or 6 people.
Right.
So, I mean, sir, all I can tell you is please call the meeting. Let's see what we can put our heads together and come up with for the city of Waterbury. At the end of the day, we want the same thing everybody else wants. We want a better Waterbury. A better Waterbury for the North End, East End, West End, and the South End. Just that simple. Albert, I'll let you say a few things, if you will, please, about the Riverball and Recreation Center, which I know you've also spent a lot of time there with the kids.
Right.
You want to talk a little bit about Riverball and Recreation?
Riverball and Recreation is definitely a good place. It's just like the North End Rec Center. Like, it's there for the kids, for the people. You got so many different programs that range from the young kids to the older people. We got Casa Bienvenida, which is like a program for the old folks. They come down, they do certain activities. They're fed, they're shuttled back to their houses and stuff like that. For the kids, we have a wide range of activities for sports. You got guitar lessons down there, salsa classes. You got basketball, we got soccer, we got a softball league that just kicked off. Well, it's in the process of
May
kicking
5th.
off.
May 5th,
Yes, sir.
yep.
May 5th is kicking off, definitely. So that's definitely positive because that keeps the kids off the street. And at the end of the day, we want kids doing things that are very productive rather than negative. You know, we want to teach them the right thing because when kids grow up, they're a product of their environment, and we want that environment to be nothing but good stuff. You know, we want to show them the right way and mold them the right way. Like that's what it's basically all about at the end of the day. And I feel like that's what the rec center, that's the type of role it plays in that neighborhood.
Okay, thank you, Alberto. Let me take this call. Caller, you're on.
Hi, it's Vicky.
Vicky, how are you? Thank you for calling. How are you feeling?
I have a very high fever.
I'm sorry to hear that. I did announce that you were sick, and I am going to reschedule you, but thank you very much for calling in.
Absolutely. I just wanted, I don't know how much time you guys have, but just to reiterate that we have a meeting this coming week at 6:30 in the address for the greenhouse.
It is going to be at the greenhouse?
Yes.
Okay, so 6:30 at what time? At what day?
It's Thursday, this Thursday, so we meet every third Thursday of the month
Okay.
at 6:30.
6:30. Okay. Thank you very much for that call, Vicky.
Susan Pronovost from Brad City Harvest is generous in doing hot dogs and hamburgers for us that evening.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you for calling, Vicky. And like I said, we will reschedule and hope and get better. Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, Vicky. Thank you for calling.
Have a good night.
Three quick things. This Thursday, also April 19th, at the Portuguese Club. The Portuguese Club is they normally host our town committee meetings, and they're having a monthly dinner, all you can eat for, I believe it's $20. The food at the Portuguese Club is second to none. Awesome food. That's this Thursday. Next Wednesday, the 25th, at the AOH, we're having a fundraiser for the 75th District group. Please, if you want tickets, you can get a hold of Alberto, myself, or anybody on the 75th. Again, want to send a shout out to Jennifer Gonzalez Rodriguez on her birthday. And I want to thank Alberto for coming on.
Thank you, Jerry.
Did a great job. And I want to
that.
thank Carlos and Dawn for directing and Eddie for working the cameras. And we'll see you next week. Thank you very much.
Have a good night. And like Mr. Reyes said, we got something going on 6:30 at the greenhouse this Thursday. Definitely come down.